Hi, guys. It is March 21st. This is the view currently outside of my bedroom window. And as you can see, it is snowing. Ay, ay, ay. Where is spring? Can't take it. 21st of March, the second full day of spring. Why? Why? We're supposed to get 18 flippin' inches. Guys. Oh, I need to move back to Florida. That's what I need to do. Hello, my lovely, happy little kitty cats. How is everybody today? Really good, I hope. Um, so it is a Wednesday story time. I do want to show you my shirt though, and I did get this shirt from Wish. Um, and I'm not sure I ever hauled this shirt, but let me just pull you down a little bit and show you that it is the Vampire. I think he's so adorable. He kind of looks like a little bit like Chewie. At any rate, so that is my Vampire shirt. And I love this shirt. Um, at any rate, first order of business, I just wanted to update everybody on the giveaway. And Miss Michelle has contacted me, and the box has been sent out. So, Michelle, your box went out yesterday. There's only one thing I have to tell you, though, is that I forgot to stick in the little Marcasite kitty cat brooch. Um, I don't know why I had it pulled out of the box. I think I had it pulled out of the box to show somebody. Um, and I forgot to put it back in. But I will send that out to you separately, Michelle. So um, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to the post office again, or get Tony to go to the post office again. Um, but I will. I have it put aside. I have a little padded envelope addressed to you, and so whenever I can get that out to you, I will send that separately. And I do apologize that that was not included in the box. And that was one of the things that I ordered specifically for the giveaway, and was waiting for it to get here to do the box for the. Oh, guys, I'm telling you, if I had half a brain, I'd be dangerous, really. So watch out. Um, all right, so it's Wednesday story time, and I don't want to waste a whole lot of time babbling. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this story either, because I have told this story, I feel like 15 times. Um, but after last week's Wednesday story time, where we talked um, about me being transgender, and um, my life when I performed, and how that was an outlet for me. Um, and the reasons why I don't perform anymore, I got a couple comments and a couple emails, um, asking why don't I perform anymore? Why don't I dress as a girl? If I say all the time I'm a girl, because I always say, um, your girl, he ain't spending more than $5. Um, and why I double gender, and why do I call myself mommy to the cats, and then say, mommy loves you. Yes, he does. Um, why I why I stay a man, grow a beard, wear fingernails. Apparently, a couple people just don't understand. They just don't get it, and that's fine. But this is the last time I'm going to. This is the last time I'm going to tell this story. And if I get more comments about this with these same questions, I'm just going to say, refer to Wednesday story time number, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. So when I was a kid, I always felt different. I always felt like I should have been a girl, and I didn't understand why I wasn't a girl. But I knew that I was different from all the other boys. Um, and I never wanted to hang with any of the other boys. I never wanted to play with any of the other boys. They wanted to play army and Tonka trucks and toss the football and the baseball, and none of that was ever me. I wanted to play Barbies. Um, and the only one in my family that ever indulged me in that direction was my grandmother. And I would go to my grandmother's house after school and wait for my mother to pick me up after work. And I had a little doll case with Barbies and clothes, and we had our special hiding place for my dolls. And my grandmother would let me dress up, play dress up, and that kind of thing. And but I was always told, don't ever tell your mother. So I never would have. I always loved when my grandmother would come over to our house too, though, because I had a little wooden toy box in my bedroom, and I would have my grandmother sit on the end of the bed. I would stand up on the toy box and put a little record on and lip sync and do a little show for her. Um, and it was usually something like Sonny and Cher, and I was Cher, and you know, something I could never tell my mother either. Um, so again, I always felt different, but it was the 70s, and I had no role models in the 70s. Plus I was a kid. I didn't. I graduated high school in 1980, and I was younger than most of the kids that I graduated with because my birthday actually was December. Um, so when I was four, that September when I was four, I went to kindergarten instead of five. You understand? Because I was going to turn five during the longer part of the school year. So, um, so I was a kid during the 70s, and I don't think it was until the late 70s when, I became a teenager, and I remember one time Phil Donahue, the talk show, Phil Donahue, had on Christine Jorgensen. Christine Jorgensen was the very first male to female trans, and back then the term was transsexual. Um, but she was the first male to female sex change. And I remember she was on, and my mother chased me all over that house, turning TVs off behind me, because all I wanted to do was watch it. It was the first. It was the first trans person I had ever seen, and I didn't even know what a transsexual was. In fact, I never even heard the term transgender until I was in my 40s, late 30s, early 40s. And then it became transgender as opposed to transsexual. So, um, by the time I really understood all of that, and I still didn't have any role models. Um, I still didn't know anybody that uh, was trans, and we lived in a very small town. Now, oddly enough, our small town was famous for having a lot of gay people. Um, and then it wasn't until I sort of got my own apartment at like 20, and it was right down in town, that I started to meet some of the other gay people and drag queens. And so I never really understood either what a drag queen was. Um, and my one friend that I worked with and I one time went to Lancaster, and because they had a gay bar. And I was 20 years old, and obviously had no idea what a gay bar was or what was like. I mean, in my mind, it was a bunch of dirty old men walking around groping the younger guys and grabbing their asses, and I was very surprised when it wasn't that at all. I'm relieved, actually, because I didn't want that. Um, so when I started going to the gay bar and realized that there were a lot of drag queens, there were a lot of men that dressed up as women and went out on stage and did a lip sync and a dance and performed. Um, that kind of got me excited because I used to do that in my bedroom, you know, for my grandmother. As I got older, I would wrap myself up in bedsheet gowns and stand in front of the mirror with a hairbrush as a microphone and lip sync. Um, so I thought, wow, I could do that. I wonder if I could get away with that. So I started buying some girls' clothes and getting dressed up on the weekends and going into the bar. Um, wasn't doing shows yet, just going into the bar, getting to know the other queens and getting the patrons of the bar to be familiar with me and know me. So when I would perform in a show, they would clap, you know, and tip, because that's where those, bar drag queens, that's how they make their money. A lot of bars back then did not pay their queens to do shows. You worked for your tips. And so the more tips you got, the more, of course, money you went home with. Um, so I started doing shows. And the more I did shows, the more I hung out in the gay bar, the more I became a drag queen. I then did start meeting some transsexual people. I remember the first trans I ever met was a male to female, and now this blew my mind, my little 21-year-old mind back then. I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm a man getting a sex change operation to be a woman, to be a lesbian. Like, if you like women, why don't you just stay a man and have sex with women? I didn't get it. I did not get that at all. And that was, my young brain not being able to sort of put all that together, um, and understand it. It was the first trans I had ever met. Over the years, I started meeting more trans people, and as the 80s went on, um, and I got older, I understood more about trans people. Now, why did I never get a sex change? Well, if you're transgender, then everybody thinks that the end result to that is to get an SRS, a sexual reassignment surgery. Um, and that's not always the case. Case in point. Um, Again, remember, it was still just the 80s. Um, I was still only in my 20s. Uh, and my stepfather was the most bigoted man on the planet. All my childhood, my mother divorced my father when I was very young. Um, she divorced my father because my father was gay. And back then in the 60s, and she only being in her 20s, young 20s, like 1920, um, was not something that she understood or could handle. She always said later in life, if she had been older, it had been a different time, that maybe she could have stayed, because she really loved my father and he treated her very well. Um, but who knows how you would react then versus now. I don't know. At any rate, I grew up in a house where the N word was used daily, plus hundreds of other derogatory terms for black people, which I won't repeat because they're very offensive. Um, I heard derogatory language about Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Jews. I mean, he was an equal opportunity bigot. Um, and all my life, I heard um, faggot, fairy, queer, sissy, you know, butt effer, sea sucker. So I was scared to death. I mean, I was scared to death. What would happen if I had come out? Um, I came out to my mother as gay years before, and my mother's reaction to that was, yeah, so kind of already knew that. Okay. But I don't know how she would have reacted if I came out and said, you know, I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body. Um, so I never discussed it with her. She knew about the drag. She knew about me being a drag queen. She loved watching the videotapes of me in shows. She came to shows and had a good time. My mother loved gay people. She loved gay people. And all my friends and gay people loved my mother. They all loved my mother. Um, and so I think she probably would have been okay with it, but I was a little scared of the stepfather. And then, when she divorced him, there was a third husband, and I, quite frankly, was a little scared of him too. Um, and not that he was a bigot, far from, far from. He was night and day, um, polar opposites. But I still didn't have the courage to do it. I just did not have the courage. Um, and as I got older, and I was with my first partner for 18 years. And when I broke up with him, I dated quite a few different people over the next couple of years. And then I met Tony. And I have fallen so madly in love with Tony. Um, and if I said to Tony now, because look, I know, Caitlyn Jenner, it's never too late. It's never too late to live your truth. I get it. But I would lose Tony. I mean, it's that simple. And Tony loves me, but he loves Bob. And he's gay. He doesn't want a woman. If he wanted a woman, he would have stayed dating those silly girls that he dated in high school. Um, he wants to be with a man. He's gay. And I get that. I get it. Um, so I would definitely lose him at this point. Um, he was never even really thrilled with the drag queen stuff. Um, so he certainly would not be happy with being the husband of a transgender. Um, I have another friend who's going through the same thing. Uh, she is transitioning, and her husband have been together forever, forever, and he loves her, and he'll probably stay with her, but they're not having sex. You know, so what do you do? Um, well, I thought long and hard about it. And I soul searched and I prayed and I talked to people, friends and family, and I finally decided that even though I am transgender, I feel like a woman inside, and I think, process thoughts like a woman, think like a woman, that at this point it would be too much to transition, too much to have the SRS. I just have no desire to do that. I think I've had enough operations in the last couple months for a lifetime. Um, and it's a very painful operation, as you can only imagine. And it's a very long recovery. And I don't have the time, quite frankly. Um, so, to answer your questions, that is why I stay a man. Now, why don't I do drag anymore and dress like a woman? Why do I grow my beard? Also, good questions. I don't perform anymore and I don't do drag because the only time in later years that I did drag, the only time I dressed as a woman or cross dressed was for shows. And basically, you had to pay me to get dressed up and drag all that shit to the club and take 5 hours of my night to be backstage with a bunch of bitchy beauty queens and perform. um I enjoyed it. It was so much fun. I enjoyed being on stage, but I didn't like all the other stuff that went with it. Now, when I started losing parts of my body, for instance, the first amputation I had was um, on my right foot, my second toe. Well, that wasn't so bad because I could wear closed toed shoes and nobody ever knew. The second was four toes on the left foot. Well, there was no way that I could wear high heels on that foot because I had no toes. I had nothing to balance myself on. I would have killed myself. Um, I did eventually get a pair of flats, sparkly flats, but I hated those. One of the reasons why I was so interested in doing drag to begin with was to wear high heels. I loved high heels. The higher the better, the sparkly the better. You know, give me a pair of hookah heels and I was good to go. Um, and now I've lost a leg. So it's not going to happen, and I'm certainly not going to wheel myself in a wheelchair out on the stage and lip sync a song. Not going to happen. So that's why I don't dress anymore and I don't perform anymore. Um, I do still like to get my nails done, and I do still like to wear a little bit of makeup every once in a while. I'll wear a little bit of eyeliner and some mascara, and I have almost non existent eyebrows, as you can see. So sometimes I pencil those in. Um, and then why do I grow a beard? Well, if I feel like a girl, why would I ever have facial hair? Okay, well, I don't like the way I look without something on my face. I either want a face full of makeup or I want a beard. I don't like the way I look clean shaven with no makeup. And I can't wear makeup every day and handle my business. I just can't. Um, I would be, as a woman, way too high maintenance. Way too high maintenance. Um, but still, I like something on my face. Okay. Plus, I live in the Northeast and it gets pretty cold here during the winters. And I hate cold. I am very tropical and very Floridian. I um I get cold very easy. And so if I have to go out in the cold, I want a little I want a little fur, you know. And yes, I could get coverage, and I have coverage, but I find that this really insulates too. And, you know, plus I just like it. I just like the way I look with facial hair. Um, do I like the way I look? A full face of makeup? Do I like that better? Do I think I look better? Well, I certainly look prettier. Um, and I never had a problem with self esteem either. Um, that's one thing all of my friends will tell you, that I have no problem with self esteem. Um, you know, I always said, you know, people would say to me, especially when I was dressed as a woman, they would say, "Oh my God, you're so pretty. Oh my God, you're so beautiful." I know. That would be my response. I know. You're a handsome man. I know. Thanks. I know. I'm fully aware. I have a mirror. Okay. I have a cell phone with a camera. I know. But again, don't like nothing on my face. So that is the reason I stay a man. It's the reasons I never got a sexual reassignment surgery when I was younger. It is why I won't get one now. And it is why I have facial hair. It's also why I do my nails and wear a little bit of makeup sometimes. Okay? And probably why I'm so into jewelry. I don't know. Um, so I hope that that answers all of your questions. Um, but I hope you understand more about me and, um, what my daily life or thoughts are. Um, and I don't believe that I misgender myself by saying, um, mommy loves you. Yes, he does. Or, your girl, he don't want to spend more than $5. Uh, because I'm both. And that probably will just bring back all of the confusion that you had before we talked. But I do think like a woman, I do rationalize as a woman but I also have testosterone. I'm also a male. Um, and I have just resigned myself to be both. And I'm not unhappy. I'm not struggling with my sexuality. Um, I have no thoughts of suicide or any of that related to the transgenderism. Um, am I depressed? Yeah, but there's other things for me to be depressed about. Um, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with who I've become. If you want to label me, which God knows why anybody wants to label anybody. But if you want to put the label on me as gay man, you can also label me as a trans woman. Um, but really, the only label that I want to wear is human. That's my label. I'm a human, just like you, just like everybody. We're all just human. We all come from the same place. We all want the same things in life, to be happy and healthy, prosperous, to love and be loved by a special person, and to just live our lives the best way we know how, with God's help. And if it wasn't for God, I would not have been able to get through some of this life. Um, I know I've spoken before that I'm extremely spiritual, um, that I can be very Catholic, um, but I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian, and I I lift mine eyes to the heavens from whence comes my strength. Um, so I'm good. So again, I hope I've answered all of your questions. Um, you may be more confused than ever. I would understand that if you are. The whole subject is very complex, and it's different for everyone. Every trans person, every gay person, every straight person, every bi person has their own story and their own struggles. And you can ask 100 different trans people what makes them trans, and you'll get 100 different answers. So it is complicated, and it is different for everyone. But this was my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, in the meantime, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the week. We'll have a wish haul on Friday, Saturday. hopefully I can get it up by early enough on Friday, but uh, I might as well just start saying we have wish hauls on Saturdays because for some reason I can never get them up. There's too much to do on a Friday to get ready for the weekend. You know, there's too much to do because everything else, if you don't do it by Friday, you can't do it until Monday because everything is closed. So, I will try to get our wish haul up on Friday, guys. Um, but if you don't get the notification till Saturday morning, I'm sorry, but I'll try. You know me, if I'm not late, I'm not on time. But in the meantime, guys, be happy, be healthy, be safe. Don't get fleas. And I will see you later. Okay? So, in the meantime, take care and